I'm Tumaj Karimi, Iranian national, and then my story started on 9th July 2008 when I involved in one of the mass student protests against our regime on anniversary of a killing of students in Isfahan, which result in arrest of my father, and I found that it was my 5th demonstration and protest against our regime. I used to be women's rights activist and labor rights activist. So the last time it was really I felt myself that I'm really deep down in hot water with authorities. After 1 month, more or less, I had to flee the country. I had no option.
STAR is the national network of 5,000 students at 38 universities in the UK, working to make the UK a better place for people to claim asylum and rebuild their lives. We do this in 4 ways. We volunteer in our local communities to support refugees. We educate people about asylum in the UK. We campaign for better conditions for refugees, and we fundraise to make sure we can keep on doing this important work.
I'm Jerome Phelps. I'm the Director of Detention Action. We're a national independent charity that supports immigration detainees held in detention centres, primarily at Harmondsworth and Colnbrook centres at Heathrow. So we give direct support and advice to migrants in detention without time limit, but we also work nationally to campaign and lobby for improvements to the detention system, for ends to particularly abusive uses of detention.
My main story started on 19th of Feb 2009. It was when I arrived in United Kingdom and Manchester Airport. When I claimed asylum because of using the false passport instrument, when I showed them, they found this is a fake passport. So obviously I had no other option to claim to the other safe countries. So obviously I've been in my ultimate surprise, and I always make a joke. I always said I was expecting a handshake, but they put a handcuff on me, and then the imprisonment sentenced me to 12 months imprisonment in one of high security prison. HMP is called HMP Strangeway in Manchester.
This year, STAR has started to campaign against the detained fast track because the students who are members of STAR and run STAR really want to end detention. They believe that this is not acceptable in our country. They think it's not okay that people who have done nothing wrong other than come and ask for protection perfectly legally are put in prison. We're doing it now because the government is expanding this system of detention, and if we don't make a fuss now, it's only going to get worse.
So I fled the country not to be in prison, not to be tortured or persecuted. But again, I came into the detention.
We need to build up more pressure on the government that the detained fast track is a national disgrace. It's the worst part of the asylum system rather than the most efficient part. The government likes it because it's fast and it gets people out of the country, but it's very questionable whether it meets our international human rights obligations. There's been a real lack of pressure on the government to address the manifest flaws and injustices of the fast track. It has gradually expanded over the last 10 years from an initially quite small, quite limited system which only detained people for a week to the current system which has no time limit. People are often detained for a month or 2 and for the whole asylum process.
Many people, or refugees, asylum seekers, they flee the country not only in a fear of their life, not only in a fear of being persecuted or persecution or prosecuted, but also they flee to guard something tremendously precious, and this is dignity, or better to say, to hope that one day they're going to live with the dignity. But when they come to the UK, and they put them in immigration center. This dignity can be taken away by the being institutionalizing in immigration center.
It makes a huge difference whether your asylum claim is considered on the fast track or in the community. Firstly, because you're locked up in one, which has a massive impact on anyone. But secondly, because simply the chances of being given asylum vary dramatically. The first decision, in the community you have a 30% chance of being given asylum by the Home Office. But if you're put onto the fast track, you have only a 1 to 2% chance. So that there's many times harder to get asylum on the fast track.
This year for Action Week, we're asking people to do 3 things to voice our opposition to the detained fast track. The first thing we want you to do is get out there and get people's attention. The way we want you to get people's attention is by chaining yourself together and looking like you've been detained. So get some rope or get some string, go into a prominent position in your town centre or in your university and get people's attention by chaining yourselves together. At the same time, we want to have different members of your group out around the people who are looking at the people who have been chained together and asking them to take a quiz. So we'll give you quizzes which you'll take up to these people who are watching and say, do you want to do a quiz on asylum? These quizzes will have 5 questions. The 5 questions will be on asylum and detention. Once people have answered the quiz, they can turn the page over and get the answers. The answers will educate them about asylum and detention in the UK. Once they've read the answers and they're educated, those people will ask them, do you now oppose the detained fast track? Now you know what it is, do you think it's a good idea or not? If they say no, we think it's a bad idea, we say, please, will you sign this petition? And you give them a petition which they will sign, and you're then going to gather a load of petitions against the detained fast track.
It's vital that students are at the heart of that campaign. Student Action for Refugees has such a strong voice on asylum issues. Students vote, parliamentarians care about what students in their constituency think. So this is a really important way of getting the message to parliamentarians that it's one of the big human rights issues in the UK today.
Make sure you get in touch with us before Action Week to tell us what you're planning. We will come along to your events, we'll help you organise them, and after Action Week, tell us what you've achieved and we will help you get that to your MP so that they have the information they need to end the detained fast track.
I could see and I could feel that how human rights can get closer and close to extinction. Seriously. They not beat you up, but sometimes you feel like Home Office put its feet on your neck and they tie your hands from behind and they keep you on the corner and you can do nothing. No return, no release, no reason.